We'll go ahead and get started. First question will go to Eric Bailey, Tulsa World, and then Jason Kersey.
Hey, Alex, just Ronnie Perkins again on Saturday, just the impact he made. And just, was it one of those things where he was just waiting for that opportunity to play? And did you sense that? And did you really feel that going into Saturday?
Oh, he's been very anxious, and obviously the staff, the players have all been anxious to have him back out there with us. That's the word I would use. I mean, I think it's something that he's been kind of preparing his mind for, but hasn't had the opportunity to obviously get out there with us on Saturday. There's been reps given to him on some practice days, but also in those moments you got to be smart as a coaching staff to not use too many of those reps on a guy that's not going to be available that weekend. So I think in his case, maybe not necessarily similar, but for the lack of a better term, I guess would be similar to some of those guys we talked about earlier in the season that just need more practice reps and cumulative reps. To obviously he has a lot to draw from his past, but hasn't played in a game in a long time, and so for him that's week one. And so I say that in that I think the sky's the limit for him. It is great to have him back. He certainly had some level of impact last weekend, and a guy that we continue to look to give us not just quality reps, but productive reps.
Thank you, Alex.
Okay, Jason Kersey and then Ryan Aber.
Alex, I know last year Trey Norwood's injury really bothered you guys, really upset you guys. He was supposed to be a big contributor last year. Seeing him get out there and make 2 interceptions and have such a big impact, what did that mean to you to finally see that? And then also, how much do you see him contributing moving forward?
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those guys that hadn't started a football game since 2018, and then when you say that, a lot has taken place over that time. New coaching staff, and obviously a full football season, and then by the way, the off season when you're supposed to come back, and I think I may have mentioned this after the game, was an off season where your first football snap should have been in spring football, and all of a sudden now it's not until whatever it was, August, and so there was a delay. I'll be I think that's as honest as I can be about it. There was a delay in terms of progress towards maybe being again not just an adequate football. That's not the standard. We're not talking about being an adequate football player. We're talking about a guy that can play at a high level, and so and it's not as if he didn't take advantage of that time. He certainly did, but it's different in doing a workout and running and 7-on-7 without pads on. All of a sudden now you got to go do it on a game day, and so it means a lot to have him back out there. I know it means a lot to him. We've talked about depth over the years, and in quality depth, and so you had another guy to your roster, and in so many ways, because his confidence level has gone up, his practice tempo has gone up, the quality of plays both in practice and then subsequently in games has increased. And so now you're talking about, it's like a free agent pickup in some ways. You talk about Ronnie Perkins for a completely different reason. But for Trey Norwood, and kind of where we find ourselves as we go into November, it's a little bit of the equivalent, not having Turner Yell last weekend, obviously, provided even more opportunity. And so was excited that he took advantage of it. There's still work to be done across our secondary and including with him. But it's another piece. And so I was thrilled for him as much as anything, just to have some success as he kind of has continued this journey back.
Ryan Aber and then Joe Bettner.
Yeah, Lincoln, going back to Ronnie, how do you keep a guy like that engaged when he's going through the process he went through? And then what does having him back allow you to do, or how much does that allow you to do defensively with your front, whether it's moving, using Isaiah Thomas's versatility or anything like that?
Well, I'd start there, and you mentioned it, Isaiah, just what he has meant to us over these first 6 weeks, as I can't again continue to keep talking about him every week, and so it provides you a little bit of flexibility there in terms of having Ronnie back. And then in terms of, his engagement, that is a battle. I mean, it's for us as a coaching staff, you want to keep him engaged. You want to put reps on it because you want, the minute he's ready, you want him out there. But at the same token, you got, a game that weekend that he's not available for. And so, a lot of it was on him. Coach Wiley would take him on the side, and from a conditioning level standpoint, because he's not going to have all the same reps in practice, did some work on the scout team. Obviously, you got the individual reps and those things, and obviously Coach Kane did a great job with him. But I still think, it regardless how much football that you've played, whether you played 1,000 snaps in your career, 2,000 snaps in your career, whatever it is, game one is game one, and even if it's at the end of October. And so, like I said, I still think his best football, obviously, this year was not played this past Saturday. Although you saw the impact and the benefit for us is that we managed it as best we could. And so when he was available, the second he was available, the minute you get that call, he was in the game on Saturday. And again, Coach Kane had him ready. He was ready. The idea now is we progress from there.
Appreciate it, Alex.
Joe Bettner and then Kerry Murdoch.
Alex, you'll play your first home game in 6 weeks, and I'm curious just where you feel like this team has, or your defense in particular, has grown the most. I know you bring back a lot of experience, but I mean, what are these guys, how have they grown over these past 6 weeks? Where have they improved the most in your eyes?
Well, yeah, I mean, we practiced in the stadium a little bit last night, and you kind of reacquainted yourself to the venue. One of the best places in college football. I guess it has been 6 weeks. I didn't know that exact number, but obviously knew it's been a while. And also realize, 6 weeks ago, we didn't hold up our end of the bargain in that stadium either, if memory serves me. And so, where are we at? I've said this before. I mean, it's always a 1 week evaluation because that's the appropriate thing to do, because you can get lost in, and sometimes as a coaching staff, maybe even more than players, you can get, almost lost in your feelings as to, I'll use this kind of, what might have been type of thoughts, what could have been, if only this or if only that, where can we find ourselves right now? So that's something you got to really protect against. And one of the ways as a coach you do that is you keep it to the best of your ability. You keep it to a 1 week evaluation and say, where were we at when we left the field Saturday night in Lubbock? And that's the team that we bring back on the field for a Monday practice. And then the idea being that whatever you can get done over these next 5 days to represent the University of Oklahoma on Saturday in that stadium at a high level, what can we get done in the next X number of days in order to produce the results that we want on Saturday? And so where are we at? We're giving up 28 points against Texas Tech, and wish that number was lower. And can come up with reasons why it should have been, but the facts are the facts. But we're also a group that came off 3 takeaways and had some very productive snaps. And so we're going to highlight those and obviously, enhance those things that we did well this past Saturday night, which again should have been a cumulative, a compounding effect for the week before. Which is obviously what your aim is as a coaching staff, and then again enhance those things we did well and fix the things we did wrong. And there's always something to fix, but you'll like to think that there's more things in the positive column that we're talking about not fixing, but it just simply enhancing.
Thanks, Alex.
Okay, let's go to Kerry Murdoch and then Kayla McCurry.
Alex, you fought for so long to produce turnovers on your defense. When you see what somebody like Trey Norwood does, do you have to ask yourself, is that just a guy at the right place at the right time, or is this a guy that's just always going to be around the football?
Yeah, no, and then it's amazing too how some guys kind of have that knack. Oftentimes, obviously, whoever ends up with the football, gets credit for the play, and that's sports. But when you watch the film, and one of the things that we highlighted to our defensive front is a lot of times, especially with tip throws that go off a receiver, a lot of times it stems from initial pressure up front, a quarterback, throwing the ball a click sooner than he anticipates, which means the receiver, again, has to react to it a click sooner than he may expect it, or how it repped over the course of a week in practice. And then obviously, included in that is making sure you're at where you're supposed to be on that particular down. It's funny how the ball has a tendency to find you in a negative way when you're not where you're supposed to be. And conversely, when you're doing the right things, and then making sure that you're playing, from an effort level standpoint, that you can take advantage of those things. I also highlight like Isaiah Thomas's, fumble recovery. Say, well, it's just a bad snap. Well, it's not just anything. The impact is on the center who's got to snap the football and have to block our defensive front. And you got Perrion Winfrey standing in front of you, and oh, by the way, you're not sure exactly where he's going to go post snap. There's an impact there, and so all that stuff obviously contributes. But one of the things that has struck us in the past is, and you're never past that. So when I say the past, I'm not saying it can't happen this weekend. Is we haven't come down with those balls. It's been oh shoot, how close we were to pick one off, and there's another one in the game that was in our hands that we didn't come down with. I mean, if you kept count of the dropped interceptions, over the last year and a half. God, if only the percentage of those went our direction, the narrative would be a little bit different. So that is exciting to see that. And I would highlight, the 11 guys getting that done, because so often that's what it takes.
Thanks, Alex.
Caleb McCurry, and then John Hoover.
Alex, with today being election day, and I see that you got your I voted sticker on, how much has this team really look forward to this day? Not just because, of course, it's a day off, but I mean, they've been talking about the importance of it for months.
Yeah, no, it obviously a unique kind of preparation week for us. Practicing on a Monday and all of a sudden taking a Tuesday. That's obviously not your norm. But that's also the year we've been in. So somehow, taking a Tuesday off from practice and meetings doesn't seem as crazy maybe as it would have 12 months ago. But no, I think across the board, you're talking about guys that have had a lot thrown at them in the last what's now 11 months. I think it's given everybody time to reflect on things, to form opinions on things, to share thoughts, both within our building and outside of our building. And it's a, I don't even know if this is a word, but I guess an actionable day for everybody. It's one thing to talk about it. It's another thing to do something about it. And whether it's a small thing or a big thing. And it's something that we're all blessed with the opportunity to do so. So, no pressure on any of the guys to on any side of it in terms of, the pressure to vote specifically, or certainly on any candidate. And no conversation on that, because I don't think it's appropriate to do so within this building. But on the same token, they know that it's an opportunity for them, and certainly hope that the majority of guys, and believe they would, take advantage of it.
Thanks, Alex.
Okay, let's go to John Hoover and then Brandon Drum.
Hey, Alex. Woody Washington got his first career start the other night. What did you like about his week of practice last week? Maybe communicating that with Lincoln. And then how do you feel like he handled things on Saturday night?
No, I've been continue to be impressed with Woody. I mean, he's a guy we talked about several times over the course of the year. Highlighted by the interception to Texas, but just from a consistency standpoint, when you watch him in the TCU game, a lot of it stemmed from just that. And one of the things that we're working towards as a defense across the board is that word consistency, and what Woody has done is back up game film, which is obviously critical into a practice week that suggests a guy that we anticipate playing at a high level on Saturday. And so that's something, for instance, that we anticipate as time goes on here, when we talk about depth and having more guys available, and guys playing at a higher level, that becomes commonplace, where how you play the previous week and how you prepare that particular game week. And I mentioned this before, we make a decision as a coaching staff on Thursday in terms of, obviously who starts, number one, and then from a rep standpoint, kind of behind that, who's the rotation, who's in the plan is kind of the phrase or term that we use. There's one thing, okay, you're a 2 on the depth chart, but will we put you in the game? And so, if you're 2 on the depth chart, okay, we want to get him a series in the first quarter. We want to get him sometimes, especially in our defensive front, a 4-play to 2-play rotation or an even rotation, 3 plays. Every 3 plays, these guys are rolling. So we do all those things, and it's not done once; it's done every week. And the idea being is that you have to perform at a high level over the course of the week of preparation to earn those reps on game day. And so I think that's indicative of it. And like I said, I think it's something that as time goes on, and we're going to see it at a number of different positions, which the message is if you were a starter the week before and play at a high level and you can be a starter again and get your job back. And conversely, if you're a 2 that's a rotational guy, please don't be satisfied with just getting some reps on the Saturday. It should be a big deal to be on the number 1 defense at Oklahoma. And something that you got to fight for each and every week. And that's competition. It's healthy competition. And it's something that we're trying to create.
Thanks, Alex.
Brandon Drum and then James Hale.
Alex, how close do you think you are as getting to where you want this defense to be, and how much of that is contingent on the growth of the Perry and Winfreys of the world, the Joshua Ellisons, the continued growth of Isaiah Thomas? Those guys seem to be stepping up bigger and bigger each and every week for you guys, adding pressure. Has that helped you kind of see maybe there's even further you guys can grow as a defense than maybe you even thought?
Yeah, no, you highlight the front, and that's something that this package, so much of what we try to do is designed for our front. We've talked about playing in the gaps as opposed to playing in the men. Well, that's a good, that's a fine theory. We don't build a wall in our front. We're going to penetrate gaps. Well, it's obviously critical that you don't just do that to have a philosophy. It's that the philosophy is if you do that, then you can get production from your front, which then creates negative plays, which creates situations from an offense, even when you don't get negative plays, but specific to the negative plays, they're behind the sticks. Okay, what impact does that have? 2nd and 10, a 2nd and 12 versus a 2nd and 6. It's astronomical. It's a 1-2 count versus a 2-1 count in baseball. All those analytics that you can go into. And so that's the philosophy. And the roots of what we do go back to and Dave Steckel's the defensive coordinator of Missouri, and we had 2 SEC defensive players of the year in our defensive front. And then we took the package of the philosophy and the package out to the Pac-12, had the defensive player of the year in the Pac-12 in our front. And so what we challenge our guys is don't number one, don't be a magnet. Don't you dare create your own philosophy in the front and be okay running into offensive linemen. That's not what we do. And then the second thing is, if we're going to put you in a gap, we're not putting you in a gap just to occupy one. It's to be productive in the backfield. And so for us to have success, we have to see that disruption in the front and the production in the front, because it's designed to get those things. That's not a plus on the grade sheet defensively. If that week we have some TFLs, that it's designed that way. And so when you have 9 TFLs last week, and now the minute we look at that, we think we should have 4 or 5 more. You see a couple sacks, you're saying, oh man, if we could just gotten the guy on the ground when he got rid of it late before ultimately get him on the ground, that number should have gone up and those things. But no, that group is critical to what we want to be, and their continued production and continued development is a big deal to us. But it's across the board. It's 11 guys, obviously, that's got to get better. Where are we at? Again, it's appropriate right now to, what we produced on film this past weekend was a little bit too up and down as I evaluated. Guys, I didn't think again that we finished appropriately. If you get reps in that game, you're expected to play at a high level, even if you're a young guy late in the game, and those numbers count. Certainly sometimes I wish they didn't, but regardless with the scoreboard, we didn't score touchdowns, so we don't get credit for whatever the number was on the other side of the board. We get credit when we make plays and ultimately keep numbers off the board. So no, it's obviously still a work in progress, but also we had a conversation as a defense staff today. It's November now. Tryouts are over. It's we got to put the right guys on the field and obviously work to put the right product on the field. And we all had to feel a sense of urgency in order to get that done.
Thanks, Alex.
Okay, last two questions, James Hale and then Keegan Renault.
Alex, Kansas doesn't come in with a lot of success. You guys are getting better every week. Talk about what coaches have to do to make sure your team continues to drive to get better against an opponent that on paper it looks like that you really overmatch, and there's not going to be a lot of talk about this game coming into the game.
Yeah, I think a lot of things that kind of get brushed aside as coach speak. The reason it's coach speak is because it's accurate. And so often we all look for but if not this, then what's plan? If plan A is not worried about us, there must be a good plan B that doesn't just account for your opponent that week. And that's what you're playing a team coming out in with an undefeated record, or a team coming in that's obviously struggled. It's your one opponent that week. It's obviously what we see on film, and I will say this, being at an Oklahoma is different than most. What we see we will not see that level in the stadium on Saturday from our opponent. We see everyone's best, which is always a challenge. And so whatever struggles they may have had against a certain opponent, believe me, we will see it at a much higher level against us. But ultimately, again, going back to the coach speak, we got to get better in every single phase. And that's when you talk about process and all those things, you either believe in it or you don't. And one of the main things for us when we talk about process is, being more, and it's been a focus for us, is being more, taking more ownership, each individual guy on their individual process. Sometimes process gets lost in this, if we just say process, that the walls are going to somehow bleed out some magical dust that's going to, ultimately, I'm not worried about the outcome. I'm worried about the process. Okay, what is your process? What does that mean? How did you attack every single rep of practice? And have been showing these guys a lot lately. Ray Allen shooting in the gym by himself. The point being, he shoots whatever number of shots every single day, and had a video of him making I think 18 straight 3-pointers in practice by himself. And the point being is he's making 18 shots in a row to just go shoot 45% in a game. But what does the perfectionism and day in day out practice just so you can execute at a in that particular case, a above average level for an NBA basketball player, and again, to equate that or even share that, I guess it doesn't maybe answer the question, but it gives you an idea. Again, we have to have a perfectionist mindset in practice and a performance mindset in games. And so that's how we attack the week of preparation. That's something that we need to get better at. Again, each individual guy taking more ownership in that process, not hoping that the process kind of engulfs them.
Thanks, Alex.
Okay, Keegan.
Alex, obviously you guys moved Isaiah Thomas back inside for one game. I don't know, obviously, if that was for the entire game, but it seemed like just his versatility, just how much more difficult does it make for offenses to have to prepare for you guys? I mean, you can throw him inside, throw him outside. When we're on Stokes get back, and obviously you guys did all sorts of different things last Saturday with him at defensive tackle.
Yeah, no, one of the things that you're constantly trying to do is not just get the right 11 guys, put the right 11 guys in the right spots. And again, using the basketball example, if the point guard can be good at shooting guard, or you move the shooting guard to point guard, and all of a sudden, you can increase your productivity. That's one of the things that you got to look to do. But probably the biggest thing with Isaiah is you tell him to go play a position. Again, all he does is go do it at an elite level to the best of his ability, and does it with elite effort. And the fun part for us as coaches is because so often you spend this time trying to convince guys, if you just would do your job, you would just do it with extreme effort and do it at some level of physicality, that you would have success. And then again, it's fun as a coach to, and now you got the example. Here's the poster child for it. Just where do you want me to play today, coach, in this scheme, in this package? Where do you want me? Tuesdays I'm practicing an end, Wednesdays I'm practicing on the interior. Where do you want me? All I'm going to do is do the best job I can for Oklahoma football. And so, no, that obviously increases the pool of guys that we have in the front. It's been fun to rotate those guys. I still don't think across the board we've seen the best of all those. I mean, I'm excited about the Josh Ellison. What's he going to turn into? Corey Roberson. What's he going to turn? Marcus Stripling. I mean, you see a play here, a play there, and I think all those guys' consistent level of play will continue to increase. But until that day, it's nice that, okay, this guy's going to have to play 30 snaps. Okay, just give us the best 30 snaps, that you're capable of. And so all those things, tie into to have more productivity in our front. And to previous questions, that's our aim.
You made the comment that if you guys keep playing the way you did, we'd start calling them pretty good. Would that be your assessment of the way your defense is playing right now, or is that even too high or too low?
Yeah, I think when you're in the middle of it, all you can think about is the points you do give up. I mean, that's just your tendency as a coach and all those stuff, and so you kind of try to hold those evaluations from in this particular case, we're talking about a 10-game season, and ultimately you are what you were the week prior to, and one of the things, and I'll shrink that even more to some of the games we've had this, what you are at the end of the third quarter does not mean that's who you are as a defense. And so, I mean, so again, coach speak, 1 week at a time type stuff. Well, the facts are the facts. What you are at the end of 3 quarters is not what you are as believe me, talk about woulda, shoulda, coulda, and all that stuff. I mean, that's proof of it. And so, again, we know the bar has to be higher. We know that. And so that's what we're striving towards.